the only thing I'm like.
Yeah, that works.
Getting
How long does it take you to get to practice?
At the hour I go, it probably take me 20 minutes.
Oh, easy.
Yeah, I go early. Yeah. We got practice at 11. I'll try to get there at like no later than 8:30. So it'll take me about 20 minutes. On the way back, I have to practice like 35.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
If you want,
Yeah.
you. We are rolling.
Rolling.
We've been rolling.
Joe,
Ready to go?
Love it.
All right.
Yeah, Steve. No
Off
pressure.
we go. All right. No pressure. All right. Hey, I'm Steve Nash, and this is season 2 of Mind the Game. For those of you who were listening, subscribing, downloading last season, you had JJ Redick, formerly a podcaster and now the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, with his star student, LeBron James, discussing the game of basketball. I thought they did an exceptional job of kind of digging into the weeds a little bit of the technical aspects of the game, and we hope to continue that a little bit here on season 2. LeBron's been really gracious with his time, allowing us to kind of get inside the mind of one of the all-time greats, not just on the technical stuff, but in the big picture items as well. You know, his approach, his mentality, his preparation and recovery, along with the current trends of the game, where the game's going, how it's being played, how we dissect and analyze the game. So I'm excited. Got a great opportunity here to talk about the game I love, someone that I greatly admire, and having an opportunity to discuss not only the current Lakers team that has had some major moves recently, but also the entire league and the state of the game of basketball. This is amazing. Great to sit down with you. You know, we've played against each other. We've dapped each other up, dozens of times, but we never really got a chance to sit down. We didn't have a meal or, a drink together. So this is, an honor for me to get to know your way of thinking, your approach, and I'm excited for the series. So let's make this.
Welcome back, man. Mind the game. Welcome back, man. Welcome back. Welcome back.
Let's make this a good one. Let's make it fun.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
You're brave, though. I'm a rookie. So, last year you were doing this with a professional podcaster who now is your head coach,
right.
and a pretty damn good one at that. So, I'm going to try to pick it up for him. I'm going to try to, see if I can get under the hood of the Lakers a little bit along the way, as I'm fascinated by his journey as well. But sitting in his seat here with you is going to be a lot of fun for me. Yeah. So, let's crack it off.
Absolutely. And the closure, real quick. If he gets a head coaching job, because whatever, we didn't talk about this beforehand, guys.
Yeah, right.
All right, just letting you guys know. We didn't talk about it, but two great minds, though. Once again.
Thank you. Yeah,
let's do it.
That's good. Well, listen, the first thing that I want to hear you speak about, all right, is from the time you're, 12, 13 years old, you've been the guy.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many people in the history of the game have sat here at 40 years old, having done everything, kiss the ass, get that out of the way right away, but champion, MVP, golds, titan of industry, business. You've landed the plane on Mount Rushmore after 30 years, basically. Like, what does success look like for you now at 40?
That's a great question, Steve. I mean, I think it comes down to, like, what does success means to me now, about inspiring the guys that's with you and the crew that's coming after you. Hoping that what you're doing and the tools and the DNA and the blueprint that you're doing while you're still playing and striving while you're doing that, it is going to trickle down to the generation that you're with and the generation that's coming in. We've always heard the saying, like, leave the game in a better place than when you were in it. And that's what success for me. I hope I can inspire the next generation of great players, great athletes, not only in just basketball, but in sport in general, to what it means to take care of your body and, keeping your mind fresh and understanding, like, being more driven by the process more than the actual ending goal. And then just trying to be great, or as great as you can, be squeezing as much juice out of yourself as you can, and doing it because you're doing it for the love of the process and not what it brings, not what the sport brings you.
Great answer. And I was going to say, in the middle of it, like, the obvious answer is to win a championship.
Right,
But,
for sure.
But, like, the process is everything. I think it's so important for young players, in line with what you're saying, to realize process over outcome.
Yeah.
You know, so many, whether you're 7-year-old or 14-year-olds old, 25-year-olds, sometimes we get carried with the outcome.
Right.
Right. But it's a process that leads to an outcome. And if you start looking at the outcome, you lose sight of the process.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've always been a leader in that respect, like taking care of your body. You've been on the cutting edge, you know, life off the court, you know, building businesses. The way, even during your career, you've changed franchises strategically.
Yeah.
Always cutting edge, always
Yep.
thinking ahead, always trying to get somewhere that you think is interesting,
Right.
fascinating, about where you can take the game.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
To good health.
Absolutely.
Down the stretch here,
Yes, sir.
especially.
Thank you.
Cheers.
That's beautiful. That's lovely. Like they was stepping on those grapes right outside, right out back.
For sure. Where was I? The process.
Yeah.
There's another former 40-year-old Laker in the room. It didn't go as well, but I would say I fought with everything I could to keep playing.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to keep going. Like I
Yeah.
would have loved to play 2, 3, 4 more years. Because, you know, you get to that stage where you're at right now, you can see over the fence.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's vast.
More than any time
Right?
before. Absolutely.
Right? Like you've been in the league now longer than you've not been in the league in your
Right.
life.
Right.
22
22 compared to
seasons
18.
to 18, right?
Yeah.
And then you got your whole rest of your life without, you know, playing the game, whenever that is.
Yep.
Right? And I have a hunch it's not now because of what I've been noticing lately. But my point being is that, like, when I was fighting to get every last drop that I could, like, I wanted to compete, I wanted to be on the floor, I wanted to win games, but what I really was obsessed with and in love with was the process
Yeah.
of trying to get better every day, trying to prepare to stay healthy, to get healthy, to refine my skills, to get sharper, to
Yeah.
get fitter, all those things. So I can relate to that, but I think it's a wonderful message for young players. You know, so many nowadays, like social media, whatever it
Yeah.
is, the lens gets so broad,
Right,
we forget about, like,
Right.
my process is
Yeah.
all I have,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, you just said it. I mean, because of social media and because of people wanting instant gratification, instant oatmeal, I always call it. Like, okay, let's throw it in the microwave and a minute and a half is warm. You know, I think if you really want to be great at something, it definitely doesn't happen overnight. It's not going to happen in a year or two. And even if you're having a great season or you're having a career year, there's still so much more room to continue to improve. You know, it's still much more room for you to continue with the process of becoming great where it's sustainable. You know, we've both been in many all-star games, multiple all-star games, and we've both seen guys that were there one year
Right.
and then guys that were not there the
Right.
next year, you know, and, you know, you ask yourself, you know, when I walk into those locker rooms still, I ask myself, what was it?
Right.
What was the defining factor why that particular player wasn't there the following couple of years after he had that breakout season the year before? You know, and that's disregarding if an injury happened.
Right.
You know,
Sure.
so being able to just like make the lens so much smaller and not looking at like the finished product. Because yes, we all want to, you know, in our respective sport, we want to host the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Like you've seen it, you've seen other guys do it, you've seen it over the course of time. You feel like it cements your legacy or whoever that you want to become. But ultimately, like the time and the commitment that you give to yourself and to your body and to your craft and to your mind, those things will take care of itself. And if it's meant for you to have, then it's meant for you to have. And if it's not, if you've done all those things leading up to it and it still didn't happen, you sleep better at night. You're okay with yourself because you gave your body, your mind, your soul, everything that you could ever ask
Yeah.
for.
I'd take it one step further. When you are in your process, as you have been locked in for years, especially with the aperture of what you have to deal with, is there any better feeling than being locked in?
No.
Like when you are locked in and you are, you know, you're
No.
taking and you're in a rhythm
Right,
and every
right.
day you're knocking it down. You never miss a step.
Nope.
Like you go to bed feeling great. You
Yep.
wake up feeling inspired. You go
Yep.
in the gym with energy,
Yep.
right? Like that's the best way to live. And that's why like I didn't want to stop.
Right, right.
And so like it's amazing that you can have that approach, still fighting for it at this age, still playing incredible basketball, and that you're leaving a legacy.
Yeah.
My question would be like, was there a time in your career where that where that light bulb went on and you realize it is all about the process?
I would say probably around year 7 or 8. You know, I was around 25, 26. You know, when I first entered the league, I always had the mind for the game. You know, no plug. I always had the mind for the game, so I knew that I was when I became a professional, I knew I could think the game. You know, and I knew that my body was ready for the game as well. What I did not know, or you know, what I did not have, I didn't have enough accumulative hours put in on perfecting the process.
Yep.
You know, in high school, you play high school ball, you're there with your friends, you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
And yes, I was in the gym a lot sooner than some of my teammates and best friends, and I left the gym a lot sooner than a lot later than some of my teammates and best friends. But still, there's another level.
Yeah.
There's another level that, quite frankly, I didn't know.
Yeah.
You know, and it took me, you know, I thought when I, you know, took my team to the finals in 2006, I believe, at age 22, I was going to do that for the next, you know, 3 or 4 years. Like, I was like, okay, just maybe give me one more piece.
Yeah.
You know, and at 23, I got into the postseason and lost in the second round.
Yeah.
And then I'm, you know, 24, I got there, I got to the Eastern Conference Finals or vice versa. Eastern Conference Finals, the second round one of those years, and I didn't get back into the finals until 2011. You know, so it was 5 years later. I just thought it was going to happen like that. And I think part of it was, you know, me being young. And obviously, you know, you play some superior teams, but at the end of the day, I don't think that, you know, my process was where it needed to be, or even if I even had enough time for my process to be where it needed to be.
Right.
And I didn't win a championship, I believe, until I finally was understanding and had the ability, as far as my capacity, to understand the process, to unlock the process, and then go after it. And just stay there, stay that course.
I think another word describing that, unlocking and staying there, is efficiency.
Yeah.
Like, and sometimes, like, you outwork, you know, you're in there early, you stay late, you know you can do it, you're learning because you have the mind for the game. But, like, it takes maturity to, like, figure out what efficiency really means, right? What it really means. Like, other stuff happens in your life, you know, you become bigger, social media comes into the world, you start a family.
Right.
Now you got to be really efficient, right? Because things get in the way. And so you have to start saying, no, I got to be focused and locked in. And sometimes you just can't do that at 20, 21, 22.
No, I just don't think you can. And I think you can be as locked in as your hard drive will allow you to be. You know, I've always said this saying, like, the best teacher in life is experience, you know, and you have the ability to go through a career and a profession where you have, you know, instances and moments that will either shape you to understand what's coming next or not. And it's up to you, like, how much more do you want to be put in that position because you know how to handle it the next time. So, you know, I think, you know, even when you do become a champion, if you're able to become a champion at 20 or 21 or 22, you're still not tapped in. I mean, when Kobe came in, you know, he had a couple years, and then Shaq came to the team, and I think he won his first one at like 21 or 22. But he wasn't the Kobe that we all saw in 2008, 2009, 2010, when he was really able to define his game and hone in on his skill, his efficiency, his mind. You know, we saw the complete Kobe Bryant, you know, then. So I think it just takes time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's an interesting one because, like, it seems so obvious at this end of our careers and lives, right? But you look back and you're like, yeah, you know what? I probably wasn't as efficient back then. So, like, there is like, even if you tell this story to, like, talking to Bronny, some of it he takes because he's a smart kid, loves the game, but some of it he's just not ready to take. And like you said, I say you can't cheat experience. Right? Like, you need to go through stuff. You need to build scores. And it's the ones that really have the dedication, that want to win, that want to be the best, that want to be prepared, that they learn. They learn from their mistakes. They learn from their journey.
Absolutely. I mean, it's funny you say that because I have to check myself sometimes throughout the course of games or practices or shoot-arounds or film sessions when we have a couple young guys on the team, and I expect for them to know it, and that's unfair to them. I've always talked about, like, my little league coaches and the coaches I've had over the course of my career. I believe they really set me up for the greater of the game of basketball. Like I was taught how to pass and cut. I was taught, flex action. I was taught, ball movement, you moving defensively. When the ball move, you move. I was taught, pointing your fingers out and having your fingers point out. You can see, your man, and the ball, then you're in the right position. I was taught that, if you're not getting more satisfaction out of seeing the success of your teammates, then what are you doing it for? Like I was taught all those things. And then also being able to lock in, like, okay, if a coach writes down a play on the board, on the whiteboard, to not mess it up when you get out on the court. Like we would study those things. And this was like 8, 9, 10, 11 years, when I was 11, 12.
All still applicable today.
All today.
And
like
for
one of my pet peeve is a coach writing a play on the board, and 20 seconds later, the guys go out there and fuck it up.
Yeah.
That's one of my pet peeves. But back to what I was saying, like, I expect excellence out of everyone, and I expect for everyone to know exactly what we're doing, how we're supposed to do, and what's going to happen. But also, I have to check myself sometimes and saying, okay, the level of experience may not, it's not there just yet.
Appropriate excellence.
Appropriate excellence,
right.
yes. And
which
I have
is a
to
hard
give
balance.
that. Right, it's a hard balance when, you're 40.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm looking over the mountain. I say,
Yeah.
oh shit, there's the end.
Right. Yeah.
There's the end for me, and I'm still competing at a high level. And I'm like, well, I have a chance to, possibly win another championship, but this is a team game. You know, when it comes to, soccer and football and basketball, these are complete team. No matter how great you are as an individual,
100%.
and you have to rely on either, 4 other guys, the guys coming off the bench. Football, you have to rely on the other 10 guys, and then the offense, defense, offensive coordinator. Soccer, the same shit. You have to rely on everybody. So, it's a tug of war for me mentally.
I get it.
When it comes to it.
And the system's not set up for kids to learn the same way. Whether it's AAU, whether it's the way I'll put myself in this category. My generation of parenting, we protect our kids too much.
Yeah.
Like you got to let them fail a little bit. Now, the kids mean everything to the AAU program, not the AAU program.
And if they don't like it there, then they go somewhere else. If they don't like it there, they go somewhere else. Like it's And
NIL, right?
NIL,
So can a coach be hard on you? Like
Right.
I would have never made the league if it wasn't for my high school coach, my college coach being hard as hell on me.
Yeah.
That made me tough. That made me be able to suffer, to fail, to get back up, to keep going, to keep believing, because they'd rode me. Right, they wrote me, and so that's a hard thing for our kids. Like there's very few environments nowadays that have that where we let them struggle. Right, I think it's appropriate challenges.
Yeah, so I was so humbled and appreciative, like when Bronny wanted to stay at his high school for 4 straight years.
Yeah.
Even he could have went other places and maybe even got better opportunities or be able to do whatever he wanted to do with the game or whatever, and he stayed at the same high school for 4 years. And our youngest son did as well. He because of parenting, because of some things that was happening at the school that we didn't like, we kind of made him transfer in the summertime. He wanted to stay, and then ultimately he came to us and said he was not happy with the places that we sent him to, and he ended up going back. And now this is his senior year, and basically he spent all 4 years at the same high school too. And that means something. Like you're not running away from adversity. You're even though things might not be going your way, you able to say fuck it, man. Like okay, I'm here.
Yes.
I've laid the groundwork, and okay, it's not going well for me here, but this is not even the real world. Right. What if it doesn't work out for me in the real world? Right. I can't just pack up and just leave. I have to be able to stick through it and work through it. So. Yeah,
but those are values that start at home. Right?
Yeah,
like they value community, they value character, resilience.
Yeah.
Like they didn't want to leave their teammates. Like that stuff matters, and I think that's important. As a value for parents, but also as a community.
Yeah, for
hopefully
sure.
we can do better. As someone who's always looking for that next rush, whether it's driving the lane or threading the needle, we get it. You need that excitement. And let me tell you, I've found it in Audible. No joke, these audiobooks have me on the edge of my seat, whether on a long drive or in a recovery session. From heart-pounding thrillers to epic adventures, these stories have you on the edge of your seat like you're right in the middle of the action. They've got these Audible originals that are absolutely amazing, plus all the bestsellers you've been meaning to check out. The best part? You can get started with a free 30-day trial at audible.com. Audible knows there's no greater thrill out there than yours. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat on Audible. Sign up for a 30-day free trial at audible.com/game and dive into a world of new thrills. That's audible.com/GAME. The next part of our conversation centers around the Los Angeles Lakers. But first, I'd like to give some background on different actions, different vocabulary that we use in the NBA. Just maybe give a slightly deeper level for certain fans out there that haven't been exposed to some of the technical acumen that is just the language of NBA players. So one that we spoke about in this episode was the short roll. The short roll is essentially catching the ball shortly after rolling to the basket. We've all seen the guard keep the ball and throw the lob at the rim or throw the pocket pass where the big takes it to the basket. But the short roll is when you release the ball early to whoever set that screen, and now they're the playmaker out of that pocket. So often it comes from a quick little double team. So we have the offensive player with the ball, offensive player comes and sets a screen, X guarding the roller. Here he comes off with the ball. Maybe this defender comes and jumps. For a second, we have two on the ball. The roller gets right in here, and we have a little bounce pass or a little pass over the top into this pocket, which allows them now to be essentially a playmaker playing 3-on-2 or 4-on-3 from that position. Next, we have the pocket pass. This is pretty self-explanatory. There's a pocket created when someone sets a pick and roll if the big is not up to the level. So we have a screener here coming up to set the screen. His defender is usually lagging the play right here. As the ball handler dribbles off the pick and roll and the roller rolls, there's a pocket between the two defenders where that ball can be thrown to the roller to take to the basket. Blender. Blender is a term we use in the NBA when a team is in rotation, essentially, when they've created their first bit of penetration and help is forced. Now, when you create a situation where someone comes to help and the ball is passed around the gym and someone else now puts it on the floor to touch the paint or plays 2-on-1 with the weak side, essentially that broken floor where a team is trying to recover and they're in rotations is called blender. So a lot of NBA teams like to knock down the first domino, whether it's pick and roll, isolation, transition, force a team into rotations. Now they can start moving the ball around the gym, creating closeouts or 2-on-1s, paint touches that open up three-point shooters, or opportunities at the rim for baskets, offensive rebounds, all sorts of havoc. We call that blender. In this episode, LeBron references angle pop. It's a standard action in the NBA. So we have an offensive player with the ball. We have an offensive player here and in the corner. The other corner's filled. Here comes a pick and roll. Ball handler comes off the pick and roll. We pop. Ball goes to the popper. If it's two on this side, there's a hard dive, and then a DHO, dribble handoff with the corner guy. Attack, roll, or of course, if there's a switch, you can attack the switch or post up the mismatch. We did mention in this episode about being in the gaps, protecting the paint defensively. We've got a ball, let's just say it's head on the rim, out top. We have a defender here. This is a great isolation player with speed, skill, that we see on every team in the NBA. We have the floor spread, so perhaps we have a shooter's foul line extended and the corners filled, and this is a difficult ball handler to contain. You have a choice to either stay home, which would mean your defender's out here next to the shooter, trying not to give up threes, or we can be in the gaps, loading to the ball, trying to take away penetration. A lot of teams have tough decisions to make in our league with guys with such athleticism and skill, but a lot of teams place a heavy emphasis on being in the gaps, not allowing penetration. Even though we're a threes-heavy league, the number one thing you want to take away is your rim.
Yeah,
well, look, let's talk about these Lakers.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about these Lakers. Look, this, you guys won a championship a few years back now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's fair to say, but felt like the project, if I can call it that, was getting a little stale. All of a sudden, you guys make a huge trade. You get one of the greats already at 25, nearly 26, 5-time first-team All-NBA, Luka Dončić. Right. Amazing player. Exciting, of course. But But I'd like to know from you, like, what excited you about getting to play with Luka?
Because he plays the game how I've always wanted to inspire the generation to play the game. It's like it's nothing predetermined. It's if you have two guys on you, there's a numbers game.
Right.
If you have the advantage, and if it's a guy that that can't guard you, or you're able to beat him, and then the guy traps the box, or another guy sinks, I'm able to make the passes and make the reads before they happen.
Right.
And I've always loved the players that breathe so much confidence into his teammates that make them believe that they're actually better than what the fuck they really are.
Yes.
You did that. Luka has done that for 7 years. Chris Paul did that when he was down there in New Orleans and doing that for that team down there in New Orleans. I've been able to do that with a few of my teams. I mean, I don't go to the NBA Finals in 2006 with that team if I'm not able
100%.
to make them believe that they're greater than what they are.
Yeah.
And just give them that confidence.
It's a great point because I think people understand you make your teammates better, but making them believe is a whole other thing because you can spray the ball around the gym and make people better. Right. But to give them that belief that like, no, what I do is important and valued and going to help our team win, like that's a different thing.
And it makes them, ultimately, they would do anything for you. They'll run through a wall for you, you know? Right. I mean, we saw it. Unfortunately, one of your teammates gets suspended in the postseason. Right. You know, when you get chucked to the scores table. Yeah. But that's because you've given them so much confidence and so much belief. You fucking touch Steve like I feel like you're going after me.
We built that bond.
Y'all built that bond. You know what I'm saying? So like, Luka has that.
Yeah.
And I mean, he learned that from growing up in Slovenia to heading over to Madrid and learning the game the right way and playing at a professional level at, 13, 14 years old. And he brought that same model and that same game to the NBA. And
from day one.
From day one. He's from day one. You know?
Incredible.
Incredible.
Let me bring up a question for you. I've heard many people say you can't make a blockbuster trade mid-season and contend. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to know you.
They're wrong.
Yeah, and tell me how you feel about that. Like there's validity to that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it's black and white.
Right. No, it's definitely it's very challenging. You know, especially mid-season because I mean you really start the season in September and you start to implement. You know, what you want to do offensively, what you want to do defensively. And yes, throughout the course of the season, there's times where, okay, maybe we shouldn't do this. Okay, let's lean to this. But the premise and the staple of what you want to do offensively and defensively is put in place. Right. You know, so when you talk about blockbuster, not just a regular, get a piece here or there, but if you add a blockbuster trade, where you bring in, a Luka Dončić or a blockbuster trade, or if Anthony Davis goes, to Dallas, whatever, you have to kind of rearrange, how we're playing, know. So now Dallas goes from being heavy pick and roll, to, 4 out, one big, come set it for Luka. You get a roller, you get spreads. When Luka sits down, okay, Kyrie gets the ball, and now he does his thing. Now, their team kind of changes. And our team dynamic changes too from, we need AD to touch the ball every time down. We have to have AD engaged in order for us to be able to win, because when AD is engaged, offensively it's going to work, and then defensively it makes us even more incredible. Right. So now we have to change our whole thing to now completely different because Luka needs the ball. He has to have the ball. It makes no sense of bringing in Barry Bonds if we're not going to have him back clean up.
Right, exactly. It's early, right? Like this episode might not come out for a month, but you've beaten Dallas last night. You beat Denver in Denver, who was at the moment of taping was on fire. Yeah, on fire. Playing very well, kind of found their stride. Nikola Jokic obviously makes it very difficult for everybody.
Oh my goodness, doesn't.
But like what I've seen in this 4 or 5 games with Luka has been exciting. Yeah, it's been exciting, and so this is one of those real opportunities where I say, okay, they could buck. This trend of being difficult. But before I get to my thought, the other thing that's hard as someone who's coached, you don't get a lot of time with the team to implement. Like the season is, travel, plane, hotel, game, day off. Performance teams now want you off all the time. Right. So as a coach, trying to implement is difficult.
There's
like
no practice time.
No practice time.
There
You
go.
walk through, you watch film.
Right.
Like even watching some of the quick hitters you guys are running. Like I'm sure JJ wants a little more pace into some of those, right?
Absolutely.
But you don't have time.
Right.
Like how do you get time to be like, let's run through this fast?
No. I mean, JJ for sure. He's like, when we're in shoot around, he's kind of harping on it. Like he'll draw something. He say, and then when we break, he say, these are some of the things I would like to do on the fly. Yeah. Where I don't have to call a timeout and it be an ATO. Right. I would much rather us learn it. Let's try to figure it out how we can learn it. To where if you're going down the court and I yell it out, you guys know exactly what we're doing. Right. So like, I mean, you just said it. It's when you make that blockbuster trade, in mid-season, it is hard because you said, the games are every other day. 3 and 4 nights, 4 and 6 nights, back-to-backs. The month of March, we have 4 back-to-backs in the month of March. Right. I think it's something like I seen like 6 games or 6 games in like 7 days, 7.5 days. So that makes it even more important. The shoot-arounds, the film sessions, when you're on the plane and you're flying, having to give us the iPads and you're watching it and showing your teammate, okay, I messed up here, or what could I have done here? Stealing some time. Yeah. Because some of the things that I don't want to say take for granted, practice time. Yes. You're not going to have, so, I mean, you said it, that's the fine line right there.
And I think like we think about putting in place sets, but it's principles too, like getting familiar with the principles. It's side out of bounds, underneath out of bounds. End of game, get in. Yeah. End of game,
just
plays.
Get the ball. Oh my goodness.
Like
people take
defense,
for granted.
Like defensive principles, but then like, what's our off-speed pitch? What's our curveball? Like what's our blitz package look like? Like how are we gonna get it out of his hands? Whatever it is, like that takes time. That takes feel. So that's a big challenge for you all. But what I would say is that watching you play early, it's been fascinating, and I'd like to start by talking about 2 of the greatest point forwards of all time. Right, 2 guys that can dominate a game with the ball in their hands, scoring, passing, rebounding, whatever they want. 2 computer processors, right? But you can't both have the ball. Right? So what I've been impressed with is, and Luka too, and I think you started down this path with Austin, in that you started empowering him. You started like picking more spots, saying like, I don't need to control everything. As we feel in the heart of our career, you feel like we can't lose, I can't give the game away. When it comes down the stretch, I'm going to make every decision, right? So empowering your teammates is important, especially when you're 22.
Absolutely.
Right? So what I've been impressed with everybody, but in particularly you, is your ability to be a spacer, a cutter, a screener, a short roller, a quick decision maker. Like that to me is where your team offensively can reach an incredible height. And not thinking back to me, why did we even think like 2 primary ball handlers? Can you expound on like how you are approaching this process?
I'm very smart when it comes to the game of basketball.
Yeah. That's never in question.
No.
The habits, the habits, right? It's not the intelligence. I know you see it, do everything. The habit of saying like, I'll be a cutter.
Yeah.
I'll be a screener. I'll be a space. Let me just space.
I will be, when I know that it's for the betterment of the team and for ultimately for us to reach our rim, I'm able to adapt to whatever position that needs to be done. And in this case, understanding how great Luka is, how on the rise Austin is, I can do things that affect the game still that benefits our team. And like you said, being able to come up and set a pick and roll where it's a switch league, and but to be able to pick and slip or pick and hit the short roll. Now what I do best is even more unlocked. So you're giving me a pocket pass, and now I'm playing the 4-on-3 game.
Right, 100%.
I'm playing the 4-on-3 game where I have, I've gotten the ball from Luka in the pocket or AR in the pocket. Now I get to read and decide what these 3 defenders are going to guard me with the ball, 2 guys in the corner and a big and a dunker or small and a dunker. Yeah. I'm going to pick you apart, instead of always having to be at the head of the play. And now all eyes are on me. and it's a 5-on-5 game,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or, you know, being, you know, when Luka's ability to manipulate a defense.
Distort the defense.
Yeah, if you put 2 on him, and now when the ball is swung to me, and I'm going against a closeout, which is it doesn't happen much,
No.
you know, in my
guys
career.
Staying home. For 22
Right,
years.
for 22 years, to get eyes on someone else
Mm-hmm.
for a change, and then I'm catching it on the backside with a live dribble, or I'm cutting through traffic. You know, it's.
But like one of the highest forms of intelligence is also knowing what your sacrifice needs to be.
Yeah.
Right? And it's an insult to you, but like there has been examples in our league where great players playing with other great players like to your turn, my turn.
Yeah.
Right? Immediately you were bought into, I'm not just standing over here in the parking lot waiting for Luka to do his thing. I'm going to eat off of him, and I'm going to create for him.
Yeah.
And seeing you do that right away is such a great example of how to play the game, how
Yeah.
to play the game the right way, in a way that you haven't done for the majority of 22 years.
Yeah, and I think I'll just always go back to the teaching. You know, I when I first started playing basketball, there were no pick and rolls. When I first started playing basketball, it was just motion offense.
Yeah, flex.
It was just
motion.
flex and motion, and you know, cutting screen away and cutting pass, and you know, there was none of that. You know, in high school, you know, my 2 coaches, Coach Keith Danbron, who just retired from Duquesne last year, and Coach Drew Joyce, who's I think he's got about a year or 2 left. You know, at St. Vincent St. Mary, we didn't run much pick and roll either. It was all about like how can we get the ball moving from one side to another, move the defense, break down the defense with dribble drives, try to get middle, guys suck in, you spray. You ain't got a shot, quick decisions, moving. So it was always a numbers game for me growing up. And, you know, when you get into the NBA, obviously, you know, things change and it's all about, you know, how can we, you know, target here or whatever the case may be, or, you know, just get the numbers game.
Yeah.
You know, but it's the same. It was the same mind frame for me, you know, from when I was a kid. So me being able to take a step back, but also still be laser sharp and focused on what's the job at hand. It was not it's a sacrifice, but it's not something that I'm not willing to do for the betterment of the team.
Yeah, it's been exciting to see, man, and it's also beautiful to watch, right? You know, it's like a lot of people in the NBA call it blender. Yeah. Like when you make, Steve Kerr says, when you knock the first domino down. So whatever that is that gets penetration, you know, I'm a big believer in paint touches.
Yes, sir.
You know, getting that first domino to fall, getting that first paint touch, getting to blender. It excites me a little bit, 2 things for you. One, like you've always been receiving the screen.
Yeah.
So you know when you're like, I want him to slip. I want him to flip the screen. You know, you now are in control of doing that, having known what the ball handler's feeling, seeing. So you're going to create more opportunities for you to catch on the short roll and play 4-on-3, 3-on-2, which is exciting. The other thing that's really, and I want you to talk about that, but the other thing that's exciting to me is watching how you'll make quick decisions. Guys, like, I'll give you a little anecdote. Like, my responsibility with the Suns, for example, was to create shots for our team, whether it was me or for someone else. So although I made them, I was, believe it or not, really uncomfortable in catch and shoot threes.
Yeah.
Because I might not get one for a week and a half.
Yeah.
Right? It was all off the dribble. And so I know sometimes, like, it might be uncomfortable for you. Like, Luka's man just leans, he throws it out of the post for you to go.
Right.
Because you're used to serving, what do I got? Go.
Absolutely.
But I've seen already you've been catching and going, which brings me to a point that I really believe in. And I think the best 3 examples are you, Luka, and Nikola Jokic. Not only are you guys incredible processors, you know, see everything, have made every pass, can do all that, but you all have the physicality to play bully ball.
Yeah.
So whether that's in the post with a mismatch, whether that's I'm faster than a big on the perimeter, or whether that's you got to close out on me, and I'm just, if I can't get you clean,
I got a big shoulder.
Guess what?
Yeah.
This guy's taking you to the rim, and I can see over everyone. So you're basically, I see you guys do this. You're looking at the guy in the corner. Just as I get to the rim, are you coming? Because I'm just going to hit the corner. And then he sees you looking, and now you put him in a bind. You're playing cat and mouse. But that ability to make quick decisions, to play bully ball, and you have Luka can do the same thing. You know, this is exciting for me to see, like, you guys play off of each other. You know, a guy just leans the wrong way, the ball's gone, you drive.
Yeah.
He recovers, but taking him to the rim, surveying, you're in rotations. That, to me, is a separator of the 3 of you in our league. Right? Like, a lot of guys can play bully ball. A lot of guys, or not a lot, but there's some computer processors. But putting the 2 together, you know, that's like what elevates, I think, the 3 of you. two of you on the same team.
Yeah.
Like, can you talk about like how you feel about when Luka has the ball? Are you reading, or do you want to get in two-man actions? You're going to have the best two defenders.
Right.
So sometimes Austin's going to be the screener. Right. Because he's going to have the third defender.
Right, and that's what we always be. And that's the scary thing, I think, for the potential.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we still got so much room to grow. But now you look at it, okay, myself and Luka had the two best defenders, you know, every night. There's not many teams with a third defender. Right. And that third defender has to guard Austin Reaves. Mm-hmm. You know, so we have the ability to interchange, you know, how we want ball handler, screener, or backside action. You know, we could start an angle pop action where the big comes up, set it, he pops. We got a guy coming out of the slot.
Yeah.
Whoever we want on the backside, it could be
anyone. You can dictate.
You know, so we could start with Luka with the ball. I come set the angle pop. Mm-hmm. I pop, and now I'm going to a DHO with AR. Yep. Or AR could start it. I pop, and now I'm going to a corner pick and roll with Luka.
Right.
Like, we have the ability to do so many great things. And then back what you were saying, to be able to have those guys that can play bully ball, but also have the brain to be able to manipulate the game as well for the greater good. It is something that it's the reason why I've been able to do it at this level for as long as I've been able to do it as well. And then obviously you know Jokic and what he's capable of doing every night, and what we've seen with Luka over his first 7 years.
Right, and it's exciting to see Austin grow too.
Absolutely.
Right, like he's got the mentality, like his skills keep getting better, you know, but he has the mentality to like not worry about you two.
Right.
Attack. Yeah. And you've empowered him to do that, which is important. But I love that he's just like, I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going. He's not waiting around.
He's not waiting
around. Like, oh, well, LeBron's over there. You know, like.
No, he's like, I got this too.
You know,
like, yeah, for sure.
Like, if you do run that action and you're DHO out of the corner for Austin, like, he's not waiting to get a switch and throw you in the post. If he's got an attack, he's going. And you have to play that way. You can't be on your tiptoes. Well, he switched. I got to throw it into LeBron in the post. Like, you'll get it back.
Yeah, you become the wrong computer. Then.
Right.
Then you start over-analyzing the game. You know, and now you're not even playing for just full of the game. Now you're over-processing the game.
Right. That's what's exciting when I think about the three of you, the way he can feed off of you guys. It's also been interesting to see, you know, when I saw the team come together, I thought, I like the death lineup. You know, you at the 5, so to speak, or Rui, whoever you want to say is at the 5. You got Rui, Doe, you know, the three of you on the perimeter. Like, that's an exciting lineup. But it's actually been, the numbers are exciting for Jackson Hayes' minutes.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting to have that rim runner, that live body, a little bit of length. Defensively, your numbers have been outstanding. And that's over a 12-plus game period where you had AD, you had no AD and no Luka, and now you have Luka. It's continued through that period. So maybe talk a little bit about like the death lineup versus Jackson versus how you want to defend. Because what it feels to me, especially in the small positional size lineup, you guys are big. You just don't have a center on the court. Positional size lineup. I love the way you guys have been in the gaps. Protecting the paint first, closing out, shifting over. Like, to me, that's the way you guys are going to be tough to play.
Well, first of all, I mean, I got to give a big shout out and credit to Jackson Hayes, man. You know, him stepping into that void, losing AD, you know, it's a lot. Yeah. You know, it's a lot. You know, it's a lot of scoring, a lot of protection defensively, a lot of rebounding, a lot of block shots. But I think Jackson was just like, I can't make up for that. And we didn't ask him to make up for that. We needed Jackson to be high energy, you know, be a force on offense, run the bigs, great screening, lob threat, but he's just made great decisions. He's been able to catch it in the pocket and, you know, stay on balance and either being able to dunk it home or find guys on the perimeter. Jackson has been unbelievable in his minutes, and we're going to need that from him. We know, you know, how it unlocks Luka as well when it comes to pick and roll with a lob threat. You know, so having those minutes with Jackson is key. And then with our positioners lineup, when you have Luka at 6'7", you know, myself at 6'9", Doe at 6'8", Rui at 6'9", you know, Austin 6'5.5". You know, there's no center out there.
Positional
size. But we're long, we're big, we're athletic, we're tough, you know, and we're scrappy. You know, and to be able to, like you said, be in the gaps, you know, help each other, communicate. You know, even when things break down, you know, we were able to fly around and help one another. You know, there was a play, you know, in the Dallas game where Kyrie came off a pick and roll from Najee Marshall at the top of the key. And he was about to raise for three, and we had 2 on the ball, and Luka was guarding Najee. And, you know, we wanted him in coverage. We didn't want the roller behind, but it's Kyrie. He came off. He's about to shoot the 3, and Luka went to contest, and at the last minute, Kyrie dumped it to Najee, and now they have a 4-on-3. Dodo was on the ball, and instead of Dodo just staying there and just looking at the play, when Najee was rolling, I took the roll, and Dodo came out of the blitz from Kyrie and ran all the way to the opposite corner, made P.J. Washington drive back into me. We got to stop, and then we got to dunk on the other end in a pivotal point of the game. And that's what it's about. Like, it's, you know, it's not about, you know, height and weight and whatever. I mean, shit, you're a fucking prime example of that. It's not about height, how fast you are, how tall you are. It's about the mind, the will, and the communication that you, and the process that you have with your teammates out there. Like,
speed of thought, reading.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
Absolutely.
you can see it, you know, I think the way you covered Jokic, too. The activity, right? The activity around him, swarming him, crowding him, getting out, though. And I think, like, of course, you want to be organized defensively.
for
you want
sure.
to stick to your principles, but at the same time, to be an elite defensive team or to be able to be better than maybe the sum of your parts, you have to be able to read off each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because not every play is perfect.
Yeah, and losing Anthony Davis, who's a Defensive Player of the Year candidate every year, it was either one or two things for us when we lost him. It's either be the worst defensive team in the league, or now it's like, oh shit, we don't have AD to cover our asses.
Sure.
Okay, we got to play even harder now, and we got to cover for one another because we can't rely on a blow by every time, and then I have a low man, and then AD comes out of nowhere and blocks a shot.
Right.
We have to be on the string in order for us to get stops. And we know the game of the NBA is a game of the offense. The offense, you know, how the game is reffed, how the game is played, is for the offense. But defense and timely stops, 1 or 2, if you could get 3 stops in a row, in the crunch time, you could crack a game open. There was a tie game for us, you know, in the Dallas game, but was able to get a couple stops, you know, a couple possessions, and then we was able to bump the lead back up. So it's very important.
And also the style of your defense. Like, I think that decision to be in the gaps, to take the pain away. Like, I'm a big believer in paint touches. I'm also a big believer in keeping the ball out of the paint, right? Because that's where you get the most quality opportunities. You get in rotations, a lot harder decisions, especially in the modern game, right? Where the spacing created by the way people can shoot, how many shooters are on the floor, how much you have to cover in space, or when you get to schemes, how stretched those schemes are, how long closeouts and rotations, X-outs, 2 great shooters, guy, rim runner, great ball handler, and you got 2 guys on the perimeter.
So, I mean, it's 10 skilled guys on the court.
It has to be like this, right? So to read, to be able to. But it's early, right? Like, that's the other part about this is that you guys are just getting started.
Yeah,
You've shown good signs, but it's really about the will now.
No,
like,
no, absolutely. And it's about the will and accountability. Like, it's not gonna. We're gonna have adverse times. We know, and I know it's gonna happen. I know it's gonna come. I don't know when, but it's gonna come. We have a tough ass stretch of games, but at the end of the day, we're gonna have adverse times, and it's us to be able to handle those adverse times just as well in defeat, just as well as we do in wins, you know, and then be able to hold each other accountable, you know, and not, you know, feel like, okay, you know, obviously there's a way that you communicate and whatever the case may be. But if we're serious about trying to make a push and try to really compete for a championship, then it shouldn't, the message shouldn't be, you know,
honesty, communication,
exactly.
being able to say, we got to do better than that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's exciting, man, because I wasn't sure you lose AD, right? Like, he's an anchor stone to any defense,
He's so damn good.
And as good as Luka is, you have to get stops, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think it works for both franchises, man. You know, it's going to be a process for Dallas. It's definitely going to be a process for us. But for us to be able to get Luka, and I know the caliber of player and person that Dallas is getting in AD, so I'm excited for him as well.
But also, like you said, like, you're going to have tough times. Like, on the micro level, like, you guys shit the bed against Charlotte. Yeah. But maybe you don't spank Denver if you don't shit the bed against Charlotte. You know how that is, right? You learn more from the losses, right?
Absolutely.
You start to pick out, like, okay, this is unacceptable. These are our non-negotiables. Let's get back to basics. Energy, that swarming defense we've seen in the last 2 games with Denver and Dallas, like, that was next level, right? So I think that's part of it, too, is going through those processes, being able to come back and say, This is a process, right? This is a process. It's not like today we suck, today we're great.
Right.
Like that, you can't play that way.
And just like you said, it's a there's a non-negotiable because the one thing about you can watch film and say, okay, you guys have shown, JJ come here like, you motherfuckers have shown me what y'all capable of doing. Y'all have shown it. Here's the tape right here. You told on yourself. So like this right here it's not negotiable. Yeah. Like it's not negotiable. Yeah. And to have that type of upfront communication and dialogue, it makes it even better because you're like, we're all competitors. Mm-hmm. Like everybody that's gotten to the professional level have gotten there because they've competed their ass off. Mm-hmm. And if you're able to be on a team that can have the ability to compete for championships or just compete to be in the process of the, playoffs or go down a stretch, you love that type of communication. That you love that type of accountability.
Growth mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too. I'm excited for you in that respect too because I feel like you with Luka, you're freed up a little bit to lead, to coach on the floor, to dissect, rather than like I got to get 36. Right. 12 and 13, so I think it frees you up a little bit to be like, share your experiences, slow everything down for you, be like, hold on, this isn't going to cut it. Like that, you don't always have of course you always play that way, but you had so much on your plate physically that you didn't have the space or the bandwidth mentally to share like the growth margins that you have to meet. So now I'm excited to see how you can also do that.
Me too, absolutely. All I got to do is take care of myself and then it'll be better for the team. Make sure I continue to get my sleep, take care of my body, do my stretches, all that stuff, all my grounding, all that type of shit, and I'll be fine. But it's great to have a player like Luka, for sure, to be able to do what he want to do out there, man. He has that, like you said, he has that mind frame, man, that space.
I can see by the smile on your face. So before we move on. What about this quarterback-wide receiver relationship we see going? Sometimes tight end, button hooking in the lane, sometimes running out, getting it over the top. It looks fun.
No, it's extremely fun. As far as the full court passing things, being able to run, I haven't had it since Kevin Love. Right. It was different because Kevin Love, he was damn good at it too. Yep. When it comes to the full court outletting and and now, being with a guy like Luka who you can tell, certain guys who. When the ball's in the air, they're already looking at the play before they even get the ball. Yep. And being a former receiver in high school, kind of seeing the ball come and not, showing my hand to the cornerback. Mm-hmm. I learned that a lot from Randy Moss when I was growing up. He said a lot of times he would run his routes, and he wouldn't raise his hand up too soon. Because if the defender is trailing him, if he raises his hand up too soon, then the defender know the ball is coming. He would try to wait to the last moment, to put his hand up, and now the cornerback wouldn't see it. And I learned that and watching Randy Moss when I played in high school. And I try to do that in the game as well. In the Denver game, the long pass that Luka threw me, had that moment there where I kind of did it to Michael Porter Jr. I was taking off, and I saw the ball coming, and I didn't want to open my hands up until the ball was right there, and I was able to finish it. But
well, I'm gonna have my eyes for the opposite. When you give the fake up and then button hook in the lane, let him run back in front.
Yeah,
that's great, man.
Yo, we back at it, man. We back at it, man. Mind the game here with Steve Nash, 2-time MVP, man. Let's give it up. Hey.
Thanks for watching Mind the Game. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe for more content.